Time is 4:40. I call the City of Pico Rivera Council meeting of December 14th, 2021 to order. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Camacho,
Here.
Councilmember Lutz,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Dr. Sanchez.
Here.
Mayor Elias.
Here. Councilman Lutz, can you give us the invocation?
Yes. Please bow your heads. God, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of our community. Fill us with your grace as we make decisions that might affect the community of Pico Rivera, and continue to remind us that we do here today and all that we accomplish is for the pursuit of truth and for the greater glory of you and for the service of our community, the city of Pico Rivera. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Councilman Camacho.
Please face our flag. Ready, begin.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. City Manager, are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, Mayor, City Council, we're going to continue item 12 and 14 to the next council meeting.
Item 12 and 14. Mr. City Manager, could you lead us in the study group?
Yes, Mayor, City Council, tonight we have Arnold Glassman doing a presentation on the mobile home rent control stabilization ordinance.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. Pursuant to the City Council direction at your previous City Council meeting, you've requested to have a further discussion, a study session, on the mobile home rent stabilization and owner protection ordinance. Before you tonight, Mayor, is a presentation. There'll be a brief PowerPoint presentation, but if we really look at study sessions in general, it is an opportunity for the City Council to provide dialogue or to have dialogue between each other and to address any questions that the council may have to staff, myself, and other staff that are here tonight, and then to provide some direction on where the City Council would like to go. So tonight, again, we are revisiting the mobile home rent stabilization and protection ordinance. It's been before you numerous times, both in regular City Council meetings. It was presented to the City Council last meeting for consideration as an urgency ordinance and a regular ordinance. The City Council, and after further discussion with the City Council, it was recommended that we not move forward with an urgency ordinance. And tonight we will be discussing the components of what the ordinance entails. Okay. And with that, we can adjourn. May I get some assistance on the... There we go. Okay. The fundamental question I believe the council had at your last meeting was who would be subject to the rent stabilization ordinance? There are different legislative pieces that come together that will provide this answer. One is addressed in Assembly Bill 2782, and 2782 addresses that the rent stabilization ordinance will be affected by mobile home leases over 12 months in length, and they are subject to the local rent control ordinance only if those leases of 12 months or longer were entered into on or after February 13th, 2020. Now, that's a critical date for the council to keep in mind. Exempt from local rent control ordinances until January 2025 are those leases if they were entered into prior to February 13th, 2020. So it's important to note that any 12-month lease or longer that commenced on or after February 13th of 2020 would be subject to the a rent stabilization ordinance if Pico Rivera adopts such a rent stabilization ordinance. The leases that were adopted prior to February 13th, 2020 would still be subject to the rent stabilization ordinance, but that would be deferred until January 1st of 2025. That is state law. That is Assembly Bill 2782. And beginning in January 1st of 2025, local rent ordinances will apply to all mobile home leases regardless of length or the date of the lease. That's under the Civil Code sections. I should also note that there we go. Is it easier for me just to ask for the next panel, or? Okay. Let me back up one panel. And one other point that I want to make sure is clear is that any agreement for rent doesn't have to be by a long-term lease. It can be month-to-month. And any month-to-month rental agreement between a park owner and the mobile homeowner would be subject to the mobile home ordinance if it is adopted. The next element is to look at the issue of base rent. A mobile home park owner cannot demand, accept, or retain rent which exceeds the base rent, which would be set forth in the ordinance. The City Council has options in what to select as the base rent. That can either be the rent charged on October 13th, 2020, which was presented to you at the previous date, or an alternative date. It can be at a dollar amount. Again, there was being some suggestion at being at $1,000 a month, or the rent charged at the effective date of the ordinance. These are options for the council to consider. None of them are etched in stone. And it is, council is a policy decision as to which of those options the council wishes to select if you move forward with the ordinance as the base rent for mobile home owners. Now, whichever option is selected by the council, the ordinance allows for an increase from that date or that amount to the current time in an amount not to exceed the permitted increase as set forth in the ordinance. And we're going to discuss that a little bit further. Next panel, please. An annual rent increase are limited to the greater of the following under the proposed ordinance. 75% of the percent change in the average consumer price index, the CPI, over the previous 12-month period ending in January, or 3% of the rent charged at the time of the increase. Now, again, based upon current circumstances of CPI, CPIs are not going to be anything right currently over 3%. So you're probably looking at 3% of increase annually. In addition, there must be a 90-day written notice from the park owner to the mobile home owner of an increase. Mobile home spaces must be registered with the city's registry system. So there's a requirement that the mobile home park owner registers those mobile homes within their property with the city's registry system and all associated fees paid. If the owner has not complied with the registry requirement, no increase may be imposed. Only one increase may be imposed within a 12-month period unless otherwise permitted. And any excess rent that was collected by a mobile home park owner must be reimbursed by the mobile home park owner back to the mobile home owner. Next panel. The allowable rent allowing a vacancy differs from when a mobile home owner continues to occupy their space. If there is a vacancy, the mobile home park owner may set the rent for the next mobile home owner in accordance with the rent increase limits when either the termination of tenancy of the prior mobile home owner was in accordance with the law, either the mobile home residency law or civil code, or the mobile home owner voluntarily and permanently removes a mobile home from the space. Removal by natural disaster or upgrading the mobile home does not constitute a voluntary removal. Upon the sale of a mobile home with an expired rental agreement, the mobile home park owner may increase the rent not to exceed 3% of the rent for that mobile home space then in effect. Rent increases following the vacancy shall not be reduced by any previously approved pass-through fees or costs. That protects the mobile home park owner from being impacted by a vacancy that occurs. The allowable rent following the expiration of an exempt lease. Now, this is important because if there is a lease that is currently exempt from the ordinance, what is the allowable rent that can be charged following the expiration of that exempt lease? If a mobile home space was previously exempt under the rental agreement and the existing law, the base rent for calculating annual rent adjustments will be the rent in effect on the date of that rental agreement expiration. So you roll back to whatever that rent was at the date of the expiration of that lease. There are some exemptions. The exemptions include newly constructed rental spaces initially held out for rent after January 1st of 1990, or if the spaces for non-residential uses are now then used for residential uses, and spaces which are owned, managed, operated by a governmental agency, or those which are subject to long-term leases, as we previously discussed under AB 2782. What are permitted rent increases? Allowable rent increases upon in-place transfer of mobile home ownership. Upon an in-place sale, so this means that the mobile home itself is not being moved out or being switched out. It means that if the mobile home itself retains in the same space that it was, that upon an in-place sale, transfer, or other conveyance of a mobile home to a new mobile home owner, a mobile home park owner may only increase the rent in an amount not to exceed 3% of the rent paid by the prior mobile home owner. There's no rent increase allowed where an existing mobile home owner or resident replaces an existing mobile home with another mobile home and occupies it under an existing rental agreement. So if a mobile home owner wants to upgrade, get a new mobile home in that same space, there is no rent increase that is allowed. Or where the title to the mobile home passes to one or more persons who at the time of the transfer is a lawful and authorized resident of the mobile home, is either the spouse, registered domestic partner, child, grandchild, parent, or grandparent of the existing mobile home owner. Or if a rent increase was imposed within 12 months, within the 12-month period preceding the most recent proposed rent increase. So that would not be allowed. In those situations, no rent increase would be allowed. A mobile home owner has a right of refusal to pay a rent which is increased beyond the ordinance. So if there is a rent that's attempted to be charged to a mobile home owner that is beyond what is allowed by the ordinance, then the mobile home owner may refuse to pay that rent increase. There are procedures as to how that occurs. A mobile home park owner who does not impose an annual rent increase within any 12-month period, they waive that annual rent increase. So they cannot, in other words, kind of bank that rent and then charge or go above what is allowed by the ordinance or state law. Now, mobile home park owners may apply for rent increases which exceed the max allowed under the ordinance, when they feel that they are not receiving a fair and reasonable return from permitted rent increases, they may apply for application for a rent increase to request an increase beyond that which is permitted by the ordinance or to the designated city department. We have not yet defined what department that might be. That will come back to you if you adopt the ordinance. A mobile home park owner has the burden to prove to the designated city department the necessity of any additional rent increase. A mobile home owner applicant who feels that there's a increase that is beyond what they should be charged can seek an adjustment for their monthly rent when they believe a mobile home park owner violates the ordinance. They may apply for an adjustment to the designated city department. A reduction in housing services, which includes not limited to water, sewer, recreational facilities, without the corresponding reduction in rent, will be considered an increase in rent. So if there's an adjustment in service to be provided to the mobile home owner, that would be considered an increase in rent. There is the ability to pass through certain capital improvement costs from the mobile home park owner to mobile home owners. And that the capital improvement must be for the primary benefit, use, and enjoyment of the mobile home owners of the park. Capital improvements do not include the cost of maintenance and repair, day-to-day costs, or additions and replacements to bring the park up to state or local laws. Mobile home park owners may file an application with the city's department for pass-through capital improvement costs before the project begins or within 120 days of its completion. And only up to 50% of the capital improvement costs may be recovered from existing mobile home owners by the way of pass-through by the mobile home park owners. An approved pass-through fee cost is not considered rent. It's a separate amount different than the rent. No capital improvement cost pass-through will be approved if the amount plus any increase in the same year would result in an increase from the prior year more than 3%, unless permitted by the designated city department. There's some additional provisions that would be part of the ordinance if the council considers and approves this. There's an annual registration obligation that would start on February 14th of 2022 and each year thereafter. That the mobile home park owner must register each mobile home park space that is rented or available for rent in the city's registry system. The annual registration fee must be paid by the mobile home park owner. And with the approval of the designated city departments, 50% of that registration fee may be passed through to existing mobile home owners. The city council, if you adopt this ordinance, will establish by resolution both the designated city department and oversight party for the implementation and review of this program. If the mobile home park closes or converts or changes its use, there would be an obligation to have a impact report. There are a multitude of state laws that would be required to be completed and adhered to, and there can be no change of use for at least 120 days before submitting a relocation impact report to the designated city department. Again, mobile home park owners, if they change the use or close their park, must provide all residents with relocation assistance. And the relocation impact report must be reviewed and approved by the city, and a hearing must be conducted by the designated city's department for final determination. That is a summary of the ordinance. Once again, as I mentioned,
members?
tonight with the study session, it's intended to be able to provide the city council additional information, and also for the city council, obviously, to dialogue amongst the five of you as to what are the next steps. And with that, Mayor, I'll be happy to address any questions.
I'll go down the line. Councilman Laura?
First, my apologies to my colleagues for being late, to staff, to Mr. Glassman, and to those residents who are counting on me and being here. My apologies for my tardiness. Mr. Glassman, if I may just ask a few questions of you. So it's my understanding that there are approximately 155 month-to-month residents of mobile homes. if this ordinance were to pass and the second reading were to take place sometime in January, those residents would benefit from two items. One, a limit on their rent to 3%, and two, a rollback of their rent to potentially 2020 or some date or some dollar amount, depending upon the will of the council, correct?
Councilmember, that is correct.
The remaining residents for mobile homes or who own mobile homes that are not on a current month-to-month and will have to wait till 2025 for the ordinance to take place, for the ordinance to affect them.
Only if their rental agreement was entered into prior to February 13th of 2020.
Okay.
So we can classify those into three different categories. The month-to-month, as you mentioned, those that have a rental agreement that was entered into, a long-term rental agreement of 12 months or longer, that was entered into on or after February 13th of 2020, those two groups would be protected by the ordinance.
Now,
Now, once it's effective.
now,
The ones that have a 12-month or longer rental agreement that was entered into prior to February 13th, 2020, would not see immediate benefit. However, if the council was to adopt an ordinance, they, under state law, would be allowed to receive those benefits starting in 2025.
and just one more point of clarification regarding that last group that have to wait to 2025. They would benefit from the two aspects of this ordinance that benefits this group. One, their rent would be capped at 3% yearly increase. Two, their rent would reset to either 2020 or sometime in the past or some dollar amount that this ordinance stipulates. So there's a potential of maybe 5 to 6 years of rent that we will be shaving off for them. So it would be a substantial savings for this group of renters, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So just my last question for you is, you've had experience before in the realm of drafting and implementing a rent control ordinance in the past, right? I believe you said for the city of Pomona.
That is correct.
Has that rent control ordinance ever been challenged in court, or have you had to? Has anyone ever challenged that?
No.
No. Okay. Thank you.
Councilman?
Thank you, Councilmember, for the questions and clarity. Just wanted to, I asked this question before, but I'll ask it again. In this ordinance, as it reads, specific to mobile home parks stabilization. It has nothing to do with citywide rent stabilization, correct?
That is correct. It only applies to mobile home park tenancies.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, thank you. So currently without this ordinance, what is the process for our current mobile home owners? So let's say they feel that their rent was unfairly raised, or any of these stipulations that we're discussing here, they feel it's currently existing. Who do they go to, or what's the process? Is there the state rent control or county rent control board that they can get assistance from?
For mobile home owners, not park owners, but mobile home owners who believe that they are being overcharged by a mobile home park owner, the individuals who own mobile homes within Pico Rivera are not governed by the county ordinances, because that is only for unincorporated areas of the county. And there are no state laws that would, well, there's a state law that governs or regulates local ordinances, but the ordinances, well, since we do not have an ordinance here in Pico Rivera, mobile home owners would have no agency or body that they can complain to.
Just to add to that, there's a mobile home residency law in the state of California. They would have to file a claim civilly for any type of claim.
Thank you. Second, I would like to make some comments in things that I do like about this ordinance. The section regarding retaliatory eviction and anti-harassment. I think that if, as you're saying, City Attorney, that our mobile home renters don't have any protection, I think this is really important, an important piece to keep in. Two items with the contingencies. I don't think that it would be wise to select a dollar base rent amount, knowing that we have rent is determined upon the size of the square footage, the year in which they even began their lease. There are so many factors. I know that some of the mobile park, the renters even expressed that they don't even pay $1,000 a month for their rent currently. So I would lean more toward either setting the date at the date of our actual passage of this ordinance. In all fairness, I feel like to both parties, including the landlords, so that they wouldn't be at an expense for past problems. I just want to say the other item that I have a concern with is regarding the fees in which landlords, owners, the mobile park owners would have to register to the city, because they then could, this pass-through fee, they could then charge 50% of that fee to the resident, which then it wouldn't be raising their rent, but it would be a fee that the residents would have to pay. So I have a concern that this application fee would therefore raise our residents' cost, not as a rent, but they will have a cost that will be passed on to them. So I am not in favor of this type of registration application fee. And I would like to hear from, I'm assuming this would be perhaps our Economic Development Department. We don't have a registry system that I know of. Are there any proposals, or what type of process would this look like? So those are my comments for this. And I don't know who could answer, or if you want to answer right now or later.
And of course, I'll let Michael jump in. Currently, there is no registration. Do we charge business licenses to the park owner for each unit?
We could.
Or we
I do
don't?
not believe we do at this point.
And the point being raised by the mayor pro tem is that what would be proposed in the ordinance is that, and the reason for that is to have mobile home park owners register their units with the city, so that the city has a better idea of the actual expenses charged and the number of units, the rents being charged, so that there's a better registry, there's a better database, if you will, of the types of tenancies that take place in the mobile home parks. And you're right, as proposed in the ordinance, it would be an opportunity for the mobile home park owner to pass through those registration fee costs to the mobile home owners by the tune of 50%.
Thank you.
However, that's subject to council direction.
Councilman Lutz?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. Thank you for the presentation. I have a couple questions, if you could help me clarify. I know that we've received information from some of the residents and some of the owners of the land, the landowners of the mobile home parks, and the residents of all 6 mobile home parks. It's been what you call a splattering of information. So we have a total of 6 mobile home parks. How many total residents do we have?
We believe there are 405 spaces.
Okay. And out of those 405 spaces, how many of those are on long-term leases prior to 2020?
That we do not know, but we have been told that there are believed to be 250 that are on month-to-month. So that would make them applicable to this.
Okay, so we're estimating. Okay. I would encourage the 5 council members, city staff, and city attorney that we don't go off of estimates, that we first do an analysis, which is find out how many are exactly on month to month, how many residents exactly are on leases that are signed prior to 2020, and exactly how many residents are in each mobile home park, and how many residents are on subleases, and how many residents are renting directly from the landowner because the landowner owns the actual mobile home vehicle. Now, with that data, we can craft an ordinance or a memorandum of understanding between the landowners and the mobile home owners that encompasses a solution to fit not just 100 and something, we guess. It's an estimate. We're a governing body, and with all due respect, we don't work off of estimates. We work off exact numbers because we're going to incorporate a possible law. And so I would encourage that we be reasonable with ourselves and say, let's get all these numbers, have staff get all these numbers, we come back, then we say, if we do an ordinance or if we do a memorandum of understanding, we know exactly this amount of people will be helped, as opposed to, we guess it'll help perhaps 100 and something people. Again, we're a governing body, we're a city. We should not be working with estimates. We should be exact. Let's do our research. We haven't done our research. We're just happy to pass an ordinance because it sounds great. We don't work with things that sound great. We work with things that are exact and beneficial for the majority of residents in mobile home parks. All 5 of us want to help the majority of those mobile home park residents, not just a couple. And so I encourage all the council members to go along with the idea that helping more residents than just a couple of residents is the better solution. Now, what are the building blocks? Let's go back and get these numbers. I'd like to ask staff, I'd like to make a motion for staff to get those items that I specified 3 minutes ago, and we come back. Now we're working with exact numbers. A contractor, when they're going to go ahead and build a home, they put out a measuring tape. They don't work off of estimates because there has to be concrete that's poured, there has to be wood that has to be purchased. Everything has to be calculated correctly because one little flaw will make that structure unstable. We don't want an unstable ordinance or an unstable memorandum of understanding. So with that being said, I'd like to, encourage everybody that let's agree to do this correctly. Let's get that information, the missing information that we don't have, so that the city attorney can then come back with details rather than assumptions. Because at no point did we talk how many people this would help. It was just all the items that would be in effect. But we have no idea how many people that'll help. How does that make us look as a governing body? So before we make a grave error and help only a small group of people in the mobile home residences, let's gather the data and we meet back again and we help more of the home residences that live in those mobile home parks. That's logical, that's reasonable, and that's most appropriate of 5 individuals here, now that I've presented it. So I'd like to make a motion that staff be directed to gather that information, how many are on mobile home leases that are month to month, how many are on long-term contracts, how many total residents are in each separate mobile home park, how many residents are on subleases, and how many residents are actually renting directly from the landowner because the landowner also owns the mobile home park. With this information, I think we'll be able to make a responsible ordinance or memorandum of understanding to help the majority of the mobile home park residences rather than just a couple. Can I get a second?
I second it. Call for the question?
I'd like to discuss that. I'd like to rebut.
Question?
Let's go back to the beginning of this year, when this was first before us as a governing body. What was said by one of my colleagues is that this ordinance that's before us, because it's pretty much the same, helped no one. Okay? That's what was told to us, that it helped no one. And then just a few weeks ago, I heard some of my colleagues say, well, okay, maybe it helps 5 people. When that was never true at the beginning. At the beginning, it helps, yeah, there's an estimate between 150, but what our economic developer just told us, it helps 250 people right off the bat. That's over 50% of the mobile home. That's not just a couple. A couple's 2, right? That helps 250 mobile home residents immediately in January. So, look, I get the need and the call for accuracy, but it's not going to change anything. The ordinance is the ordinance, right? If we could change it to help everyone, we'd do it. But we're constrained by the state law. We're constrained from helping everybody now because there's a time limit, 2025. At that point, it helps everyone. Everyone left behind, it helps. So don't tell me it helps a couple of people, that it helps 2 people, right? If we're going to talk about accuracy of using words, a couple is 2. You know, and the last thing I'm going to say is I'm doing this not because it feels good for me, because I think it's the right thing. I'm doing this because I'm keeping my word. And to me, that means something. I promised those people I would help them. I promised those people I would stand behind their ordinance, this ordinance. That's why I'm doing it, because it makes sense, because it gives financial relief and predictability for our seniors and those who are disabled. Those people are being squeezed. Thank you.
Councilman?
In regards to the program implementation department, I know that's all part of the presentation. It's all in the ordinance, application fees, registration fees. That's something that we'll get to on the specifics later, correct? At the next, when we adopt the ordinance? We don't need to adopt those today necessarily, right?
If the council introduces the ordinance, it will come back to you for second reading. It then will require 30 days thereafter to become effective. And to answer your question, council member, is that yes, the actual implementation and some of those mechanics of the implementation will be coming back to the council for council.
Because I asked because at that point, we can have a more specific conversation as to the merits of the ordinance, as to the application and registration fees, for example, as it was stated, that, you know, we can, based on, if I understand correctly, on the county ordinance, the registry fee is paid for by the mobile home park owner, the park owner. if I recall correctly. Second, the application fee, we can create a hybrid, either the city pays for it, the mobile home park owner pays for it, we split it 50/50. So those are things that we can determine to make sure that, as was stated by Mayor Pro Tem, we don't have the issue of a bypass into, I know there's protections, but, yeah, they can always get creative and put it in the red and whatnot, but I think that will have a more specific conversation. So I just want to make that clear that when we get to the second portion of that, we can get into the details of that.
As mayor and council members, as currently crafted, it is 50/50.
50/50.
However, when the resolution comes forward for the actual fee to be adopted, if the council wants to carry the burden, the city wants to carry the burden of that fee, you can include that in the resolution of the fee. If you want to have it 100% on the park owner, well, you have an ordinance that would be inconsistent with that. But if the council was inclined to try and define the cost sharing on the registration fee, if you're going to, you could certainly do so tonight. But if you choose to defer that decision, you have that opportunity.
I like the 50/50 option on the basis that, one, it also holds the owner responsible and not just be submitting all these applications at the cost of the city, but also making sure that there is proper language, which I believe there is, that protects that the pass-through fees are not included in the rent as well. So that's clear. And I know on the registry portion of it, and as you stated in your presentation, when we do the registry, it is going to be pretty clear who is month-to-month, who is lease after February 2020, who's before, and so forth. And that, I think, a mobile home park owner should be doing that as to begin with. And so, so I think that will, I know Councilmember Lutz has stated that, we need to get that information. I think the ordinance allows us to get to that point where we get some accurate information, which the registry would do. I would also say that, from experience, that, our job is to research, our job is to do our work and our homework, and we do that by requesting staff, our city attorney, to provide information to us based on the available information and bring forward something that we can make a decision on. Just like any project, you have a scope, that scope develop a design, which ensure you can create some RFPs that are specific to the design, not the scope necessarily, but you get there when you approve the scope and you move forward to the next step for execution. So to say that we're come to a point that is vague and inconclusive and we're moving forward in a direction that is not part of how we govern, I would disagree with that, because many things that come before us is going to be based on information that's presented to us, based on information that we've researched. And if there is questions or additional information, that this is the forum to bring that forward. And I think, as Councilmember Lara has mentioned, we've had plenty of time to do research, to ask the question, to determine that there's other alternatives. And we're to this point where we're back to square one with the ordinance presented to us. So I do believe the necessary work has been done by both staff and the community and council to get to this point to determine for us to have an ordinance that we can put forward today, that, as was stated by Councilmember Lara, it will benefit residents today, mobile home park residents today, whether you're a month-to-month, you're a lease, and I think that's a value in itself that we need to move forward on. And specifically to the mobile home parks, this has no economic impact, in my opinion, to the community as a whole, as a mobile home park stabilization. So I think it's time for us to move forward. Thank you.
Mayor, I have
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, thank you. A couple more questions. So the mobile park owners would have to register and with the system, each of their units, and pay the application fee. So how many owners is that? Six? 6 owners along with the 6 parks?
That's correct.
Okay. And right now, there is no estimated amount proposed? of what that would cost?
Of the fee,
There is no estimated amount at this point. If the reason that there's no estimated fee at this point is because if the council does not adopt the ordinance, there's no fee to be considered. If the council introduces the ordinance and ultimately adopts the ordinance, then during that 30-day window before implementation, that actual fee will be presented back to the city council.
I have another question as well. There's a section that refers to administrative review of appeals, and there's a section that refers to an oversight party. So if there is an appeal, for some reason, an applicant feels they weren't, the outcome or what have you wasn't fair, there's a body, an oversight party. So what would that, I'm trying to envision what this would look like in our city. So let's say there is an issue, the landlord feels they should be able to charge a certain amount of rent, but that gets appealed to the Department of Economic Development. And if the landlord doesn't agree with that decision, then it could go to this appeals party, which could be the Planning Commission, possibly. How, or what does that look like?
you know, it could go, Mayor Pro Tem, where maybe an appointment from City Council of new board members. We'd want them to be somewhat sophisticated in dealing with, you know, having a background or knowledge of leases and being able to understand financial returns, because that's something that would come into play here. So I don't know how other cities have done it, but I believe it is a separate board might be in order.
So this would be creation of a new rent control board for the city.
You could, Mayor and Council, that is one approach. There are a number of avenues the council could consider. There would be what's anticipated is probably a two-step evaluation. One could be somebody from staff level, and if that doesn't resolve the issue, then it could go to the Planning Commission. It could go to a separate mobile home park rent control review body. That's how it was accomplished in Pomona when I crafted it some 30 years ago. Or in some situations, it comes up to the city council. Now, I would probably not recommend that because simply because, you know, there are other policy issues the council will be dealing with. But there are alternatives and avenues the council could consider. Again, if this ordinance is adopted, we will be presenting back to the city council a series of implementation steps or implementation policy decisions that the city council will have to provide direction.
Now, last question. So was this ordinance developed, modeled after the Pomona rent control or unincorporated, or how did this ordinance come about?
It is actually, well, it's primarily modeled after the Los Angeles County unincorporated ordinance that was presented, 2 months ago, I believe. We also took a look at some probably 40 to 50 different mobile home rent ordinances throughout the state. So we tried to select the best options from all of those. And it's a hybrid, if you will, of a variety of ordinances. But the primary, the basic ordinance stems from the Los Angeles County ordinance that was adopted by the Board of Supervisors.
Thank you.
Let me begin first by saying I too keep my promises. I had the opportunity of meeting with these individuals way back. You know, there's been a long discussion about this situation, and we've always, you know, just put it in the back burner with discussions. Okay, so I'm very much in favor of moving forward on this. In my last meeting with the group, they were pretty concerned with the information that was going back and forth between the staff and the residents. there seemed to be a problem in terms of the number and the impact this was going to have. We were talking about a small number of individuals. They were talking about a larger number of individuals. And what I did was I said, I promise I'll provide the information to the council, to staff, to see exactly where the situation stands. So number one, they said, we need to be able to clear the communications between the two so we understand what the problem is. The second item is that they said, you know, if it takes more time to develop a real comprehensive solution to this, we're willing to take it, okay? We're willing to take it. Because again, there are issues that are much greater than just the rent increases. There are issues about what is happening right now. They were talking about the fact that as, you know, as residents, they don't have the same rights as residents do, okay? So, you know, they were talking about, you know, just those situations. Hey, listen, if you could provide us a solution to this, take your time and do it right, okay? So I promise to do that, that very thing there, is to try to do it right. Now, is this ordinance specifically for the trailer park owners or trailer owners?
Mayor, this ordinance is specifically for mobile home park owners and mobile home owners.
Okay.
It has nothing to
All
do
right.
with,
So I'm keeping my promise by being able to tell you that a lot of those individuals that are residing in there are not owners. They're actually renting from owners, okay? I actually saw the rental agreements on it. And the rental agreements, in fact, I shared it with the city manager. The city manager has that. The month-to-month rental agreements have conditions there that they are subject to rent increases every 90 days. Every 90 days, okay? So, you know, it's a situation that we have people there, and, you know, it was asked there, if you are a trailer owner, you're not going to go in there and rent the space, okay? Rent the space month to month with the clause there that they're going to increase the rents every 90 days, okay? So there is a problem with those types of leases that we have to protect. Now, the other thing is this. You know, I teach economics. I'm an economist per se, okay? And one of the economic principles is that rent control depreciates the supply of homes and it depreciates the quality, okay? And it is an economic principle that has proven throughout. The situation is that we're too young of a city to impose this kind of thing because it's going to spread, okay? Hey, if we do it for this, it's already been confronted. I had people say, listen, we support rent control, but not just to that group. Not just to that group. We've got a whole population of seniors that are going through that very same thing, that very same problem of a fixed income and just, again, being able to not afford their rents. So my support and my second of Councilman Lutz's motion is that we take the time and see the best solutions and best approach that we have to take care of a much larger population here. Now, one of the things that I was looking at, because again, the common theme of seniors, okay? Even with the trailer parks, it was the seniors, okay, with their fixed income situations. So I'm saying, why don't we put rent control for all seniors in Pico Rivera? Okay, and I threw it out there, and they said, no, you know, that's very impractical. But it's not, okay? It's not. In 1970, New York undertook a program called the Senior Citizens Rent Increase Exemption. And what it basically does is that it exempts seniors that qualify over 62 and over from any rent increases, okay? So it's actually much more forgiving than this ordinance is here, okay? In that, again, you get into a place, all right, if there's a rent increase, The city takes care of it, and it takes care of it with the relationship that it has in providing the property owners tax benefits. Now, this has been working successfully in New York since 1970. In fact, the state of California tried to implement this in 2015, okay? But it was a little bit before its time, or a lot before its time, all right? So, this is, again, and there's a lot of research, a lot of, everything that we could model this situation. So my second is that I think that there are more options available, and I think there are more prudent avenues available where we can help a greater amount of people. Because again, we pass this ordinance, we're going to have people coming in here and saying, hey, that's unfair. We need the same thing, okay?
So Mayor, I'd like to present a secondary motion that will take precedence. And the motion is that the City Council of Pico Rivera adopt the mobile home rent and stabilization ordinance with the amendment that we roll back rents to 2020. And I call for the question.
I'd like to-
Procedurally, let me deal with a couple of issues.
Yeah.
You can't call for the question, huh? Okay?
One is it's to introduce the ordinance, so was that the October 13th, 2020 date, or was there some other date in 2020? Sorry?
The
October 3rd.
the October 30th, 2020.
October 13th, 2020.
Yes.
So the substitute motion is to introduce the ordinance as presented,
Yes.
to roll back the rents, select the option of October 13th, 2020.
Yes.
And Mayor, that would require a second for it to be on the
Yes.
floor as the substitute motion.
And I'll second that motion,
Okay, call.
making sure that it's clear that the 2020 rollback, it's not something that's going to impact anyone other than benefit the residents themselves. So I second that motion.
Okay, call for the question?
I may, I would like to discuss this. I would support that subsequent motion. However, I'd like to incorporate Councilmember Lutz's idea of requiring the landlord owners to have some type of MOU rather than this just paying an application fee, but included with the registration, maybe we nip it in the bud. We sit down with the owners and have a type of MOU. And so if we could include that language in that portion somehow. Would that be a consideration to include in?
To address that issue is to have the city attempt to achieve a negotiated memorandum of understanding with the park owners, which is, certainly if the council wants to move that direction. If they don't, it is at the collaborative effort between the city and the park owner. If they don't, then they're still going to be subject to the ordinance.
And if I could just comment on that, this is the discussion that we've had, that we've had a process to work with the mobile home park owners to deal with a case-by-case basis. Unfortunately, that has not been successful either by this administration, the previous administration, us, and so I think this ordinance itself creates that MOU, if you will, in essence, by saying, hey, this is what you must do. And there's a process, and that's the good thing about this ordinance, is the process, as was presented by our city attorney, that it has protections both for the mobile home park owner and the unit itself. So remember, the mobile home park owner itself has legal rights to make a fair rate of return. So we can't take that from them, and that's where we get stuck in the legal aspect. But I think the ordinance is written as such that gives protection to the owner, gives protection to both parties of retribution and any procedural stuff. So I think, in essence, that the ordinance satisfies that issue of an MOU, because we're trying to take a step forward, not a step back on on this basis.
One approach,
Mayor, I'd like to make a secondary substitute motion that the city council and city staff work on a memorandum of understanding between the landowners and the mobile home owners. Can I get a second?
All right,
Well-
wait, point of order.
It's still, okay, we still have her motion there that we need to get a second on, don't we?
well, no, it is a friendly amendment to the substitute motion.
Yes.
If it's not accepted, then we move forward with the substitute motion.
Right.
And if that passes, then if the substitute motion passes, then the discussion.
Okay, so then we need to vote on her.
No, Mr. Mayor, no. What's being offered by the mayor pro tem is an amendment to the
Yes.
substitute motion. That will have to be accepted by the maker of the substitute motion and accepted by the party who seconded the substitute motion. Now, going back to what I was going to say about the memorandum of understanding. Language could be added to the ordinance that allows for a park owner to enter into a memorandum of understanding, which would be accepted by the city council in order to be exempt from the ordinance. Okay? Now, again, if the council,
Could you repeat that? I'm sorry, one more time.
let me back up one more thing. In all of our analysis of all the ordinances, there is not a memorandum of understanding component to any of those ordinances. So it's very unique. I'm not saying it's impossible. We'll carry out the policy of the council. But I think what might be implied by the motion is that somehow if a park owner is going to be collaborative and cooperative, you don't want to have them subject to the ordinance. And but that's going to have to be a decision by the city council. And,
This could be,
challenging at least.
if I may, Mayor, there's a section on page 16 that requires an annual registration. So this could be something which we incorporate an MOU where the landlords, the landlord owners, the mobile park owners file an MOU of some sort or register their, I feel like we need something to work with some of the landlords because we know that some of the parks are gouging their residents, some may not be, some may be fair. And so we don't want a blanket ordinance that's going to penalize and be punitive. So we want to I would like to find a way where we could have a win-win for people who do want to cooperate, collaborate, and assist. So I suggest, I support the introducing this ordinance with a possible inclusion of an MOU prior to being subject to this, if we can work that out in the next reading.
Just so I'm clear, Mayor and Council, because an MOU is an agreement between two parties. A property owner or mobile home park owner cannot just say, here's my MOU, I'm safe.
Right.
And if they propose an MOU, it would require city staff to go and negotiate that MOU, which would have to come back to the city council to be accepted. And quite candidly, the protections of the ordinance are intended to protect both the tenants, also the owners. And if the owner's not gouging, they aren't going to be, the restrictions of the ordinance are not going to be applicable to them. However, if the council wishes to move forward with an MOU process, I'm sure our office can get very creative and try to craft some language. But that,
Well, as you mentioned, they would have to accept.
So,
Do
so
you
right
accept
now,
it?
well, I'm still in discussion. So Mayor Pro Tem, I think that I understand what you're trying to accomplish. I do believe, though, that, once again, the ordinance provides those protections and ability for us to sit down with them. MOU, it's I mean, I think we've gone far beyond the MOU, I think, and I don't think this is punitive in any way to the ones who have complied. It's either the base rent 3% and so be it. It's not a issue of us being punitive to anyone. That's the last thing we want, because again, I'm all in the mindset of supporting our business community, because we are a business-friendly city, so we don't want to hurt anyone. But I think this creates the balance. I think the ordinance has what you want in there without having to create another layer that, in essence, only delays this and doesn't really provide anything more further, in my opinion.
I believe something could be worked out in this section. It does sound punitive to me in the sense where all mobile home park owners are required to register their spaces and pay the fee, turn in the form to the city. So basically, we're charging fees to them. So what about the ones that are being already kind of not charging, not increasing the rent, and they want to be good?
If I may,
owners.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council.
Shouldn't the mobile home park owner already should be doing that so we know what we have out there?
Part of the request is to get more information. Without a registry system, we have no mechanism in which to go to knock on the door. Mr. Mobile Home Park owner or Madam Park owner, we'd like to know what's going on in your park. Without an ordinance, they can just say, thank you, goodbye, close the door, and life moves on. So part of the reason for the registry is to accomplish that process of information. Now, if a mobile home park owner is not gouging their tenants, and quite candidly, they're not going to be impacted by this ordinance. It's only for those that are gouging their tenants. Again, that's a policy decision for the council. That's a policy decision for the council. But be that as it may.
So I'd like to call for the question.
Okay, a point of order. If we're following Robert's rules, there was a motion that I made that received a second about 10 minutes ago, which requires many hours of research from the city staff. So if it received a second from the mayor, now it goes to vote. Now, once that's done, then Councilmember Lara made a motion, and Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Sanchez then did a friendly amendment. I then motioned and I did a secondary substitute motion, which takes precedence over all other motions. So let's go back, if we may, Mayor,
Yes.
and go back and vote on the research that's going to be done by staff on all numbers. Can we follow Robert's Rules of Order?
Point of order, it doesn't work that way, because then I could just say, I doubled down on your motion, and then we just go, right?
Well, we have to give it to the parliamentarian
Let me
here.
back up. Again, I don't have my Robert's Rules book in front of me tonight. I wish I did. But my recollection, it's the chair who's going to ultimately make the call. It's not the city attorney.
Oh, thank you.
Mayor runs the meeting. So as I've heard the various motions, there was the motion made by Councilmember Lutz, seconded by the mayor.
Yes.
A substitute motion by Councilmember Lara, seconded by Councilmember Camacho. A request for a friendly amendment to the motion to the substitute motion by Councilmember Lara, which I have not heard been accepted, and by Councilmember Camacho, which I have also not heard been accepted. So the request for a friendly amendment would die. Then Councilmember Lutz has made a request for I'm sorry, Councilmember, because I've not heard that term before, a secondary substitute motion?
Which takes precedence over all other motions. And I'm waiting for a second on
Again, I
having
have not,
staff analyze and us moving forward with research from staff to do an MOU. Can I get a second?
That's not,
which Mayor, and again, it's going to be your call, Mayor. Sounds like the original motion, but it's up to the mayor. So which motion, Mayor, do you wish to entertain at this point? Councilmember Lutz's motion or Councilmember Lara's
well,
motion?
I'd like to respond whether or not I accept the friendly amendment. I think that would be appropriate first. Is that okay, Mayor? Councilmember Camacho, do you want to say anything else in relation to the,
I think, again, I understand the Mayor Pro Tem's concerns, but I do believe this ordinance with what's available, it only applies to those who are gouging and not the others. So I think the need for the reaffirming amendment is not necessary. But I don't,
Mayor Pro Tem, I think if we go back and channel the words of our attorney, this ordinance is only punitive on those who are gouging. Gouging are seniors and are disabled. Some of them are veterans. They're gouging them. That's greed. That's taking advantage. I don't know, we could go down the line of synonyms, but it's only punitive against those gouging. So the rest, it just kind of stays status quo. So I'd like to, so therefore,
Well,
so I'd like to finish. So therefore, I'd like to set aside your friendly amendment, Mayor Pro Tem, and I'd like to call for the question on the substitute motion that I had made.
well,
And I believe that's in accordance with Robert's rules.
yes, but I also have the prerogative of being able to say that this is too complicated right now. So what I'd like to do is I would like to call committee.
No.
Yes, I can.
Let me, if I may, and I pulled up Robert's rules while we're discussing this. Types of motions: main motion, substitute motion, friendly amendments, call for the question. Now, the call for the question is actually a motion to end debate. And if seconded and passes, the main motion is then voted on. The chair has authority, however, it's the body that has the authority to overrule the chair. So at this point in time, as we sit here, and of course, if the chair, you have motions that you can recognize or not recognize. But if there's a motion on the floor and a second, right now, as I'm understanding, Councilmember Lutz has made I've not heard that procedure in parliamentary terms, but again, I've learned a lot in my lifetime. What basically I would say is an alternative substitute motion, if I use those terms. At this point, I still don't have a second to that motion, unless the mayor is going to second it. And then you'd vote on that motion.
point of
If
clarification.
the chair wants to vote on that motion, and then if that fails, then it comes back to the substitute motion. And if that passes, then, or fails, then you go back to the main motion. So, somehow the body needs to act on these motions. So we have them just for indulgence sake, and if Councilmember Lutz's motion wishes to be recognized and seconded by the chair, that's what you deal with.
I'd like to call for the question on my motion. May I get a second?
And I'll second that. And I just want to add, and I don't,
Point of clarification, if we're not going to be following Robert's Rules of Order, then what are we doing as council members?
Point of clarification, if I have the floor, please, and I just want to get that clarification. And I know the city attorney is basically not going to put himself in a position to say this is right or this is wrong. But in essence, following Robert's Rules of Order that I know very well, and I follow this, I've never seen such a thing as a subsequent motion to a subsequent motion. It just doesn't exist. And because it's practicality behind that, is, as Councilmember Lara said, then we just go back and forth, back and forth.
With all due respect, it would be so much easier if all you do is act on Councilmember Lutz's motion, see if it passes.
But.
And I agree,
Mr. City
Councilmember.
Attorney, I just
I've never heard of it in my life either.
Look, but what I want to make sure that we don't start a precedence here of starting to govern with a new set of rules that don't exist, that I have never seen either the Board of Supervisors and the City Council. So I don't want to start this exists. It doesn't exist. We either have to follow the
that's with the
rules or
body.
not follow the rules.
Council member, with all due
Wait,
respect,
hold on.
if you have not been aware of
Hold on,
certain
because-
Robert's rules that did not exist, that is not our problem.
Oh, I know it exists.
Okay, can
It
we
exists
move
of
forward
subsequent
with,
All right.
with the motions?
Okay, what I want to do right now is that we need clarification in terms of the Robert's Rules of Order, if this is an item for real here. And what I'm doing is that I'm saying, we're going to stop the discussion, okay, until we get a clarification.
No, Mayor, no,
I
Mayor.
feel quite confident in my opinion, Mr. Mayor, but it's the chair that runs the meeting.
Right.
And my opinion to the body, to my council, to the city council, is that the motions that are allowed under Robert's rules are main motions, substitute motions.
Yes.
Friendly amendments to the
Yes, they
substitute motion. But a subsequent motion, a subsequent substitute motion, I'm going to be, I'll
Okay,
fall off my
so-
chair if it's in Robert's rules.
So I'm sorry, so I called for the question, I got a second. What happens next, City Attorney?
Well,
Can we vote?
We end
normally
debate,
happens is the
we
chair
end
would say,
debate,
we'll.
we end debate,
the
and we vote
motion-
on the motion.
Yeah, the call for the question is to end the debate and deal with the motion on the floor.
Yes.
And if the consensus agrees that we follow that procedure, that's all that supersedes the chair, correct?
I'm sorry.
We have the vote.
This is not a,
I feel we should just move, I would support the amendment, the ordinance. We need to move the business.
Thank you.
And also with the anecdote for discussion that I asked my colleagues to please compromise. I understand that this is the first one. I don't agree with everything in this. So please give us the space to consider my colleague. He has expertise in real estate business, and he is a landlord. I am a landlord as well. So please, I agree to move this ordinance so we can move this business, but this is not set in stone. I don't agree with everything as is in here, and I would be willing to move this business so we can move forward.
I accept that spirit of compromise. May we call for the question and vote,
Yeah.
please?
We're waiting for clarification here, okay?
I am looking at the
Parliamentarian.
index of Robert's Rules of Orders and all the various types of motions.
Mr. Attorney, we're a little bit past that though at this point because we have Mayor Pro Tem that says she wants to move forward. So there is a motion, there is a second, and I think consensus.
Well,
All for the question.
So the question has been called, first and a second.
And just for everybody's knowledge, there is not a motion in this book that says sorry, Anna, could you please repeat the motion, the form of the motion from Councilmember Lutz? Most recent one.
It was a secondary motion. I didn't quite catch the full.
Mayor, please.
Mr. City Attorney, you are employed by the city, and we're relying on your expertise, not on the expertise of a book when
Then I'll
it
be
comes
happy
to
give my opinion.
parliamentary procedure. Now, if we have to wait for this, let's take a recess if you're not aware of what the parliamentary procedure is.
No,
see,
well, the
that's-
Robert's Rules of Order is derived from a book. And the city council has adopted that book and the rules therein to govern ourselves. So
Okay.
it's perfectly fine if he wants to consult the actual
All right.
book.
And if the
I
majority
wish we
agree,
could just,
an opinion.
I'm going to call
if I
for a
may- if I may-
recess
if I may,
until
Mr.
our parliamentarian,
I think the consensus should override that.
okay, so it's a recess.
I think consensus.
I've
can
called a
override that.
recess.
Okay. Mr. City Attorney, I think
For how long?
I'm ready.
You're ready right now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
okay.
I will read from Robert's Rules. It's Chapter 12, Section 7.
Section 7,
Yes.
debate. Yes,
Cha-
okay,
Chapter 12, Section 7.
okay.
A subsidiary motion to amend. When applied to a main motion, which was Councilmember Lutz's main motion, it takes this is a motion to amend. It takes precedence over the main motion and over the subsidiary motion to postpone, it's postponed indefinitely. The motion to amend is a subsidiary motion to modify the wording within certain limits and meaning of a pending motion before the pending motion itself is acted upon. Now, Councilmember Lara offered a substitute motion.
Yes.
A substitute motion is a motion that takes the original motion, the main motion, and would apply a completely different motion at hand. It's not to amend the main motion, it's to substitute the main motion with a new motion. Okay? Now, that was seconded. That's on the floor. Then Councilmember Lutz has made a substitute motion made an amendment to the substitute motion.
no, she didn't make an
Which,
amendment. Okay, I'm
if I
sorry.
may, let me just put it as simply as I can for the body. There's one motion that should be acted upon right now. It's the substitute motion from Councilmember Lara, seconded by Councilmember Camacho, and there's been a call for the question. That should be the question for the council.
So let's put it to a vote. All in favor, say, wait a minute.
Roll call, Mr. Mayor, please.
Let's do a roll call.
Roll call for the substitute motion from Councilmember Lara, seconded by Councilmember Camacho. The friendly amendment was not accepted. We're moving forward.
Councilmember Camacho,
Yes.
Councilmember Lara,
Yes.
Councilmember Lutz,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Dr. Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Elias.
No.
Motion carries.
The ordinance is introduced.
Recess and then begin again in 5 minutes.
We have a closed session item, Mayor.
Huh?
We have a closed session item that should take 5 minutes as well.
Okay. Well, council, we're going to take a 5-minute break. So you can take us in a closed session? Yes. Okay.
We do have one item in closed session.
Yes.
That's real property negotiation?
Yes.
Yes, we have one item of real property negotiations that's listed on the.
Let's take a break and then we'll go to closed session. Mayor, do we have guests that we want to recognize right now?
Yes, yes, Mayor, we're just going to report out a closed session really quick before we move on.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, members of the city council. The record should reflect the city council with all 5 members being present. Recess into closed session for discussion of the one item of conference with real property negotiators. That item was discussed and direction was provided to city staff, but there was no final action taken and there's nothing further to report. It's appropriate to continue with the open portion of the meeting. We do have, yes, we've already done the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation. So we have recognitions and presentations.
Special presentation?
Yes. Now, my last act is, are we going to introduce the,
We have a congresswoman
Yes.
here.
Excuse me, yes, Mayor.
okay. Okay, so let's see, my public comments. We have a public comment from Assemblyperson Christina
Mayor?
Garcia. And I'm going to read it. Dear Mayor Elias, I write to support the mobile home rent stabilization and mobile home owner protection ordinance. Over the last 2 years, the city's mobile home residents have expressed the need of rent stabilization through sharing their personal stories and financial situations. The residents have also organized and advocated tirelessly to the council and community at large on the reasons behind the support for rent stabilization at mobile home parks as a means of maintaining affordable housing. In addition, any rent increases affect our most vulnerable people, including seniors and disabled residents, many of whom are on fixed income. This ordinance provides mobile home residents an opportunity to appropriately plan for future rent increases and allows for mobile home owners to collect a fair and reasonable return on investment. Additionally, with the current housing shortage, our leaders across the state must find reasonable long-term strategies to keep people in their homes. A rent stabilization ordinance for mobile home parks is one important strategy in this effort. The city's mobile home park residents have made it clear that the future of large rent increases will jeopardize their ability not only to pay the rent, but also jeopardize their ability to pay for utilities, food, and necessities. For this reason, that I write to support the mobile home rent stabilization and mobile home owner protection ordinance and encourage you to take action in the near future. Thank you for your time, and please feel free to call my office. Okay. And the next one, I have a comment by Ms. Lorraine Contreras, who is also supporting the rent control ordinance. Clerk, is that it in terms of public comments? Do we have any phone calls or?
Yes, we do, Mayor.
Are we doing the presentation first?
Huh?
The presentation to Pride?
Well, no, she wanted us to do the public comments first.
It'll just be a second for the public comment. They're just queuing up the Zoom.
Did you guys give them my home phone number again? Is that right?
We could move forward with the special presentation while we get the Zoom up with the Captain Hutek. You mind giving the presentation for the Pride? You could stay there, Captain. Yeah.
First time I've done one of these, so, at least from this perspective. So, all right, my name is Captain Jody Hutak. I'm the captain at Pico Rivera Sheriff Station across the street, and it is with great pleasure tonight that I get to recognize one of a couple of my employees and some of our station volunteers. Since 2007, Pico Rivera Station has been participating in the Pride program, and what the Pride program is it's a youth program that identifies young adults who are beginning to start to display some of the signs and behaviors that accompany, at-risk futures. And so what they do is they take in these students, and through a variety of programs and presentations, and they're assigned mentors, they're able to expose these students to the negative consequences of poor choices and also introduce them to positive outcomes for making good choices. And they are able to establish relationships with these mentors, and those relationships continue on. In fact, this year I was able to be a part of it, and one of the former Pride students came back and was one of the mentors that was working with the youth. And so it was really neat to see someone who could, a young person, 19 years old, who can stand up and say, I was headed the wrong direction, and, I was part of the Pride program, and because of, Deputy Perez and all of the other mentors that were involved in his life, he actually was able to say, I've made some changes and I'm making positive choices now. So, to be able to, in law enforcement, to give back to our community, especially our young community, in that way is such a privilege for us to do. So it's an honor for me to recognize. There's only 4 individuals here today. We do have some other mentors that were unable to be here, but Deputy Jesus Perez is our community relations deputy. So the Pride program is just one of many programs that he runs for the city of Pico Rivera, but he's got a number of different people that help, and also along with him is Deputy Patty Rodriguez. She's one of our reserve deputies. And then we've got 2 of our chaplain volunteers, Sylvia and Robert Bello. They are not only chaplain volunteers for our station, but actually throughout the department. And so, they bring an element of spirituality to the table. And so it really is a bonus for us to have a wide array of people that are helping out with our programs here. So it definitely makes Deputy Perez's job a lot easier and makes our programs much more successful. So with that, I'd like to call them up and recognize them with certificates from the city of Pico Rivera, thanking you for their job you've done.
All right. We'll do one mask, one without. All right. Ready? 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Awesome.
Without counsel?
Yeah, one without the mask, and then one without counsel. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. One, two, three. That counts.
Oh, I see.
Come on, let's put the.
We're going to get the lieutenant.
If everyone could step one over right there. Perfect. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just please stay because I need, Deputy, please stay. I've had the opportunity of being invited to their graduation. And, you know, they're not only a fantastic group of mentors and staff, they've got a great group of youngsters in there. And again, you know, it was interesting because I asked one of the students there. I said, you know, how has this changed you? And he said, well, it changed my algorithms. And I said, what? He said, it changed my algorithms. He said, do you know what they are? And I said, yeah, they're instructions on how to approach something. He goes, yeah, I've got a totally new way of instructing how to solve a problem and how to, you know, rethink it. So again, you do a great job in changing the way people approach problems and even see life. So thank you very much. Madam City Clerk?
I believe we're ready. We have about 6 speakers. Just a reminder to the speakers, there is a 3-minute time limit for each speaker. The first speaker we have is Maria Aguilar.
Maria Aguilar, if you're on the phone, yeah, it's your turn to talk.
Maybe she's on mute.
Yep.
So the problem is on this side.
Can we move to the next speaker? We'll come back to Maria.
Next speaker is Ruth Briggs. Ruth?
This is to all individuals watching or waiting to speak. Once your name is called, you will be needing to unmute yourself so that we can hear you in the council chambers. So if you would please, at the time your name is called, please unmute your speaker so that you can be heard. Thank you. Say the name again.
Ruth Briggs. Ruth Briggs.
Briggs, B-R-I-G-G?
Yes.
Ruth Briggs, are you present? Hearing no response, let's move on to the next speaker.
Next speaker, Jose Sanchez.
Jose Sanchez, are you there? Would you please unmute? That's
If you hear me in the chamber, you gotta let me know. Can you hear me?
Maybe
Yes, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
we're on mute.
Okay, so, all right. Yeah, this is Jose Sanchez, Mayor, council members. I am a 20-year plus years residing in Pico Rivera. 12 of those years living with thumping, shock, vibration, and loud noise emanating from the 2008 trench botch repair, a repair that had Caltrans not relinquished right away in 2004. City Public Works engineers would have been required to properly restore the road to what it was before. And so now it is December 14, 2021. My community and I are still having to endure thumping, shock, and vibration when heavy freight rolls over a just repaired trench. And it will get worse as asphalt is pushed, plowed, and displaced. Why? Because Public Works ignored what was recommended by the Public Works hired consultant and V5 for the Whittier to Gallatin Pavement Rehab Project, and specifically the repair of the trench. Recommendations that led to the planning in CIP 50041, which the City Council approved. Instead, Public Works pressed the slurry sack backfill the trench and top off with asphalt, a process deemed ineffective and rejected in 2019. The concrete slabs of the Rosemead Boulevard right-of-way, bridge pipe trench, made wider and worse. Asphalt compacts and will never, ever be as hard and as stiff as concrete. I did advise, but was ignored. The justification I received was only, we are not Caltrans. City Hall will be closed for weeks, and meanwhile, my community and I continue to have to endure the effects of the trench, yet again, botched repair. If Public Works doubts the intensity of the thumping, the shock, and the vibration, do what engineers do. Measure and assess what's going on. Install instrumentation, a seismograph, a geophone, but not this Public Works. So what now? What's next? The thumping, shock, and vibration is still there and will get worse. Enough of this gung-ho engineering. Please get expert help and fix it right. Our homes, the road, our health has been damaged. And all that my community and I have asked for years is for the right-of-way to be restored to what it was before. And this is what CIP 50041 did. Please fix it right. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Maria Aguilar. Maria Aguilar.
Hi, my name is Maria Aguilar. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Can.
Okay, thank you. Well, my name is Maria Aguilar. I'm from Westland Park, 67 units. I've been advocating for the past 2 years. And I want to thank, first of all, Mayor Raul Elias for visiting my community and listening to each of the residents. And the Rio Vista, which he's seen 119 units, and Villanova, 155 units, which are 250 residents with month-to-month contracts. Just to remind you, Mr. Elias, and we do want a rent control as soon as possible. You heard every resident's testimony, and you've seen the need of the community. Now, I want to thank you, Monica, for asking the question. And about the fees, I believe the city cost will be less than the staff estimated. So we don't mind paying the fees. And Monica, your second question about the parks applying to increase rents by more than 3%, we don't mind paying the higher rent increases if the park can prove it that it needs more money. And any limit in future increases will help us even if it doesn't reduce the current rents. Now, I want to speak on a different topic. The city of Pico Rivera had a survey done back on July, if I'm correct. And there was an important question that was asked on the survey, the importance of the city service. And the answer was homelessness. Issues were extremely important to the community at a 62.5%. Now, residents were asked if the city government can change one thing to make it Pico Rivera a better place to live. Timothy McCurtain said that the 5 priorities were the residents' concern. Number 1 was homelessness issues. He also mentioned that since 2018, 2019, it has gone worse in the city. My question to you, council members and staff, what was the purpose of the survey? And what are we doing about the issue? Do we want more people in the streets? And look at this weather. Have you thought about how the people feel? I personally don't want any more people on the street. That is the reason why I'm advocating for rent control for my community. Because if we don't stop the high rent increase, they will end up being homeless. And mind you, they're seniors. And that is my concern. I hope you will do what is right. We need justice, council members. And as for you, Eric Lutz, I don't have no respect for you. You came with lies to the community. You make promises, say promises. Now you're on the seat and you're saying you don't have information. You don't have no. Honestly, I'm upset. I've seen the whole meeting.
Ms. Aguilar, your
And I
time is
really-
up. Thank you. Next speaker, Ruth Briggs. Ruth Briggs.
Hello? Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, you may start.
Okay. Well, my name is Ruth Briggs, and I live at the Innova Mobile Home Park, which, as you know, is a month-to-month type of mobile home park. We don't have a contract signed or anything. We expect rent increases periodically, but we'd like to request that these be limited as the people here. I'm 71 years old, and I'm one of the youngsters here. We have people in their 80s and 90s. And like Maria just spoke about homelessness, if we don't control these rents and keep them low to enable us to stay here, we will be out in the streets, and we would have just been drenched out there with that rain and the cold. And I can't even imagine or fathom any of my neighbors in that situation. So we'd like to just get down on our knees and beg you to put the rent control in and cap it at 3%. We would certainly appreciate it. I worked in the medical field for many years, and so I'm used to helping people, and I would love for this to go through on our behalf and keep everybody healthy and keep us going. It's a wonderful park. We keep it nice and clean. We do our repairs, but these are all expenses that we don't really take into consideration every month because sometimes they just come upon us. With this bad rain, how many of us are going to notice leaks in their roofs and have to apply money towards those repairs? So there are many expenses, unforeseen expenses. I, for one, am diabetic. My shot that I have to take now, every time I get it, it's $37. Well, ooh, that's a far cry from $5 that I used to pay. So everything is going higher and higher. The food, the gas, you all know that and you feel that. And I hope you feel our pain when we have to come up with car repair money. I've got to go, get my feet checked so that, get a pedicure so that I don't get ingrown toenails. It's those little piddly little things, but they all do add up. So to you and, thank you, Mr. Elias, for coming out to talk to us and to listen to us.
Ma'am,
And
you have 10
Cristina
seconds.
Garcia and Andrew Lara. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, Edgar Estrada. Edgar
Hi, good evening.
Estrada?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, good evening. This is Edgar, District Director here on behalf of Assemblymember Cristina Garcia. I hope everyone's doing well. Mr. Mayor, first off, I'm starting my public comment by thanking you for leading the city over the last year. It's been a lot of great things that have happened here over the city this year and a lot of plans for the future. So thanks for all your work. And also to the city of Pico Rivera, we look forward to another year of really, representing our community, meeting the needs of our residents. And so I'm looking forward also to working with the next leadership here with the city of Pico Rivera. Now, the second reason why I'm here is, and the main reason why I'm here is because Assemblymember Cristina Garcia has met with the residents of the mobile home parks. We have heard the concerns, we have heard the needs, and we're also writing to express our support for the mobile home rent stabilization and mobile home owner protection ordinance. We submitted a letter through the public comment process. And so I'd just like to read a portion of that letter tonight. And so I'll start with this from the letter. Over the last 2 years, the city's mobile home residents have expressed the need of rent stabilization through sharing their personal stories and financial situations. The residents have also organized and advocated tirelessly to the council and the community at large on the reasons behind the support of rent stabilization at the mobile home parks as a means to maintaining affordable housing. In addition, any rent increases affect our most vulnerable people, including seniors and our disabled residents, many of whom are on fixed incomes. This ordinance provides mobile home residents an opportunity to appropriately plan for future rent increases and allows for mobile home park owners to collect a fair and reasonable return on investment. Additionally, with the current housing shortage, our leaders across the state must find reasonable long-term strategies to keep people in their homes. A rent stabilization ordinance for mobile home parks is one important strategy in this effort. The city's mobile home park residents have made it clear that future large rent increases will jeopardize their ability to not only pay rent, but also jeopardize their ability to pay for utilities, food, and other necessities. It's for these reasons that I write to support the mobile home rent stabilization and mobile home owner protection ordinance and encourage you, the council, to take action in the near future. Thank you for your time, and please feel free to contact my office at 562-861-5803 if you have any questions. Thank you. And with that, I'd like to conclude the public comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Ruby Ballesteros. Ruby Ballesteros.
Yes, good evening. This is Ruby Ballesteros. And I just want to briefly, two little things. One is I'm a homeowner, well, partly with the bank, but I've been here in Pico Rivera almost 45 years. And I've seen the change in my community. I've seen the two-story homes, the mansions, and then there was the halt. And I like the way that some of the community has been improved. There's been housing and changes, but the rent control is a must. And I'm a little concerned because I'm hearing this more and often. It's called a monthly. And so does that mean it's making it easier for people to be evicted? And it's just kind of startling that we're allowing this in our community. The homelessness is bad. I've seen women in parking and bus stop stations because they've been evicted for one reason or another. But the homelessness is really a problem. Rent control would really help that a lot, especially for our families with young children. And especially in the mobile park, the situation, there needs to be rent control. The other little quick thing is I noticed that the water and utilities are all going up. But I really consider that you would, for people on a fixed income, you're allowing only 10 days, business days to pay the water bill. Otherwise, there is a $10 fee added to the account. Just take that into consideration. Maybe some changes should be made about that. Thank you very much for your time and for listening. Good evening.
Thank you. Next speaker, Hope Cruz. Hope Cruz.
Can you hear me? My name is Hope Cruz. Can you hear me?
It's very low.
Can you hear me?
Can you increase the volume?
Hello?
We can barely hear you.
Barely. I've got it up to the top. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
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 Okay. My name is Hope Cruz. Tell me if you can't hear me. I live in Rio Vista Mobile Home Park, space number 6 on Paramount Boulevard. There are about 110 homeowners in this park. I am single. I am retired after 37 years from radiology and nursing. I bought my home in 2018. I want to thank Mayor Elias first for his leadership in coming to visit our park to get to know us on a personal level. Even if this ordinance doesn't lower our current rent, just limiting future increases to 3% would help a lot. It would halt much of our worry and allow us to make future plans instead of being kept in limbo. I pray for the council's vote to be in favor of this ordinance so that we can go forward with some relief and a better future for us and for our families living in the city of Pico Rivera. None of us will forget that this city council took the time to understand our need and to see us as real people contributing to the greater good of this community. Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you. Mayor, this concludes the list of speakers we received.
City Clerk?
Yes, so the next business of order is a city council reorganization. So at this time, nominations for the office of mayor are open.
I nominate Mayor Pro Tem to be mayor for 2022.
I second that nomination.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, the nomination period is closed. I will now conduct a roll call vote for the selection of mayor. Council members Camacho,
Yes.
Councilmember Laura,
Yes.
Councilmember Lutz,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Dr. Sanchez,
Yes, and I accept.
Mayor Elias.
Yes.
Dr. Monica Sanchez has been selected in a 5-0 vote to be the next mayor of Pico Rivera. Congratulations.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone. We'll step into our next order of business, which is, can I get a nomination for Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, Mayor. I'd like to nominate for Mayor Pro Tem Eric Lutz, Councilmember Eric Lutz. Can I get a second?
Second required, but I'll second it.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, can we get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Camacho,
Yes.
Councilmember Laura,
Yes.
Councilmember Lutz,
Sure.
Councilmember Elias,
Yes.
Mayor Dr. Sanchez.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Congratulations, Mayor Pro Tem Lutz.
Thank you. I'd like to take this privilege to offer our outgoing mayor at this time an opportunity to speak. And I would also personally like to thank him for his year of service, especially during it's been a really difficult 2 years, but during this difficult time. So I'd like to give that opportunity first to you to give any comment that you would like to give as outgoing mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I thank my colleagues for honoring and respecting the position of mayor. I pledge to provide all of the incoming mayors the same respect and honor that they showed me. I thank the staff for making my term the best the city's ever experienced in its accomplishments and its conduct. I thank my neighbors for offering their opinions and observations in a polite and constructive manner. I pray for our new mayor that she has a greater, more accomplished term than my colleagues and my staff and neighbors have bestowed on me. Thank you. And again, welcome, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'd open it up to any of my colleagues if you would like any comments as well.
Mayor, if I may, I too would like to thank former mayor, council member, Raul Elias, for his year of service, for his dedication to our city, for countless hours of thinking how we move forward together as a city, as a team, in terms of beautifying, providing services, security for our residents. I want to thank him. He is truly twice a citizen, as your rivals at LAPD like to say. But thank you very much to the incoming mayor, Dr. Monica Sanchez. It's a privilege. Please, in any way, I want to help you and assist you in moving city business forward. I know that you will always have my support with that. Thank you.
Well, I too want to just say thank and congratulate our outgoing mayor, Councilmember Elias, for your year as mayor and for chairing the meetings and everything that we've done since then. So thank you for that, and also thank or congratulate our incoming mayor. I believe with your experience, your poise, your proven leadership, and the ability to really collaborate and bring us all together, I think it's going to be essential to moving our city forward. So I congratulate you, and quite frankly, as we've all also recognized, that it's been way too long that we've had a woman mayor here in this chair. So congratulations to you in so many different ways.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'd like this opportunity to offer the Mayor Pro Tem a chance if you would like to say a few words.
Thank you, Mayor Sanchez. This is an exciting moment. Although there may be a transition amongst mayorships, I do know that my colleagues are outstanding. They're all leaders, and collectively we work as a dream team to ensure that our residents are taken care of with services. And I'm so proud and honored to be a part of this team here in Pico Rivera. Immediate past Mayor Elias, you've worked during difficult times and you taken the challenge, and I'm so proud of you. And our current Mayor Sanchez, I'm so proud of you because you've had the opportunity to represent our community, and over the upcoming year, you will do an outstanding job. And to my fellow council members, Camacho and Lara, I'm very honored and proud to be a part of our collective team. And we're going to be moving forward this city, and I'm so happy, extremely happy. If I could take off this mask and smile, I would. Just know that I'm smiling behind the mask. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. If I take this opportunity for myself, I take this privilege to thank everybody. Number one, I think this is a blessing, and I thank God for my life and for being here. And I want to thank my family for being present today. My mom, my sister, and my youngest son are here and present in the audience. Thank you to my colleagues as well here for supporting me and electing me to this position. People often ask me how, did I aspire to this or become a mayor? And I share my story of I grew up in a pretty poor family. My dad's a farm worker. He's in his 60s and still travels, and he picks fruit in the Central Valley today. My mom didn't make a lot of money back then. I, too, became a young mother, and I was attending Rio Hondo College when I first moved to Pico Rivera in 1997. I didn't have a job, didn't have a driver's license. I was on WIC, and I used to save coins in a jug, in an old water jug, just to have some money. So I do empathize with the individuals and residents that are going through a really tough time right now. I bet you 25 years ago, the people that knew me and saw me pregnant would not believe that I was going to be mayor of this city someday. And I thank you all and thank everybody who has supported me and blessed me with this opportunity. And I want to say that I will stay committed and do the best job that I can. Although this is my first time, I will do the best that I can to work to be a leader for the city. And I also have high expectations for my colleagues. I expect us to act as a team and to be Pico Rivera's leaders as such. And we may disagree, but we will disagree respectfully. and we will communicate with each other. That's my goal for the year. And I want to be a little transparent. We do have a number of issues. I didn't have a chance to prepare any written statement, but for me this year, I work closely my job as an educator with youth, and I have some important goals. Part of my goals is to focus on not only our fiscal sustainability, we are doing pretty well right now financially as a city, but as our environmental sustainability. We have a number of issues with our water quality, and we are already working on that. And we have some expertise here with my colleagues and with our staff in the city that we are going to address that. So we are going to work on environmental sustainability, making sure that our city is healthy, from air, water, as well as our land, and addressing our open spaces, making sure that we have plenty of park space for our family and for our residents to stay healthy. And lastly, I am a mother. That's my first job before I do anything else. And I would really like to focus on our youth empowerment and leadership opportunities, job opportunities, because our children are the future of our city. And if we don't provide any opportunities for them, then we are not looking to the greater good of our city. So those are some of my objectives for the year. We do have a full plate. We are already addressing our rent stabilization issues. We're focusing on homelessness. These are very important issues. However, I only have 1 year as mayor, and so I will have these goals as I have addressed that I would like to focus on myself. So thank you very much. And I know we have a VIP in the audience, and I'll pass it to the city manager.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, City Council. Today we have Congresswoman Linda Sanchez from 38th District. She's always been a big supporter of Pico Rivera. We actually got an earmark as a result of her pioneering $2.5 million to help us address our water issues. So we're always grateful for her hard work, Congresswoman.
Thank you so much. What a kind introduction, and happy holidays to all. It's great to be in California and to have rain, which we desperately need, although probably not all in the same day, right? I want to thank the council, and I know that you guys have just reorganized, but I have with me tonight 2 certificates of congressional recognition to the outgoing mayor, Mr. Elias, and I also have a congressional certificate of recognition for the new mayor, former Mayor Pro Tem, Dr. Sanchez, my tocaya. So I wanted to give these to you and thank you for your service to the city and to the constituents that you represent. Being an elected leader myself, I know how difficult it can be and some of the tough decisions that you have to make. But I join in many of the people who have spoken tonight in thanking you for your service to the city. I also have a small Christmas gift to give, which is the annual Capitol tree ornament, which I hope that you guys will put on your tree, on your city tree, and to help brighten the holiday season. But I just, it's great to be in town, to be able to catch a city council meeting and hear you guys work towards planning a better future for the residents here. So thank you for having me, and happy holidays.
Thank you, thank you. If you don't mind coming up to present the certificate, Congresswoman Sanchez, would you mind coming up? Let's do the outgoing mayor certificate first.
One, two, three. One more. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. Congratulations.
We're going to join you in this one.
Okay.
All right. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
One more.
Mask, no mask? If someone could lower that mic in the middle, thank you so much. All right. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Thank you, guys. It's good to see you.
I have one more surprise for our outgoing mayor before you sit down. We have a photo album of memorabilia from the year of things that happened and photos. So I would like to present that to you as well.
Thank you very much.
Just stand for both of them.
Yeah, you're fine. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's mine.
Thank you, everyone.
Cynthia, we'll move late the next meeting.
Thank you. So the next order of business, I believe, is our consent calendar. We have the City Council, Successor Agency, and Water Authority. These are consent calendar items number 2 through 10. Could I get a motion to approve the items?
I'd like to make a first.
Second?
All in favor to approve items on the consent calendar 2 through number 10?
Aye.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Seeing none, it's unanimous. Consent calendar moves. Can I get a motion for the next item of the regular agenda, items number 11 through 14? Motion to approve?
Individually.
I'm sorry?
Individually and this.
Oh,
Madam Mayor,
You wanna pull
items
any
12 and 14 are being held over to the next.
oh, yes, that's right.
Item 12 and 14 will be continued to the next meeting.
Okay, so item 11,
Yes, item 11
11
is,
and 13.
is an item that Councilmember Elias brought up. This is a discussion item regarding the establishment of a Veterans Commission. The floor is yours, Councilmember.
Okay. Wait, do we need a motion and a second to discuss?
Just a discussion item.
Okay. So do I have anyone who would like to discuss?
Councilmember.
Mayor? I mean, former mayor, council member. Sorry.
Well, as you know, veterans have played a very important role in the city of Pico Rivera. I was raised by veterans. My teachers at South Ranchito were veterans. I recall their shiny shoes, okay? Their shiny shoes, the military, just shiny shoes, that was an outstanding situation. But what it did was that it offered it provided the character that Pico Rivera residents have, and actually the work ethic and so on. So they have made quite a contribution. What we've also wanted to do is that yes, we have a very good memorial for those that sacrificed their lives, but we do have 1,500 veterans that need our support. So what we've done is that we've received approval on our Veteran Resource Center, and it is very important that we have a Veterans Commission, because that Veterans Commission will be a source for attracting additional support down the line. And it'll be the Veterans Commission that will actually will bring the Resource Center into becoming a self-sustaining situation. So I ask council to please formalize the situation that we have a Veterans Commission as part of our city government. I would like to, if there isn't any more discussion?
I
Councilmember
support any establishment of a commission 100%. Thank you for bringing this to our attention, Councilmember Elias.
Thank you.
I would just concur that it's a valuable
Councilmember Lutz?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I think a commission for our veterans is a method of letting the neighboring cities know, as well as our elected officials and the state government, that we are serious in representing our local veterans, not just in our municipality, but in neighboring municipalities. I would be very much in favor of a commission.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, for helping to continue pushing this item. We have worked for over a past year. I know that there have been many meetings with the public library and the Veterans Affairs through the County Board of Supervisors office. So I feel like we are united in supporting veterans, and the only next item would be to direct the staff if we can hammer out the details of what the commission would entail, and then bring suggestions back of what that would look like.
Madam Mayor, if it's appropriate, may I make a motion to begin the creation of a Veterans Commission?
Is that appropriate? This is a discussion item.
Yes, discussion item, but you could refer it to an ad hoc so we can begin those discussions.
Okay. Is there a motion necessary, or is that something we just direct you?
No, just a second, and then we can go ahead and move on that.
Okay. We have a motion, a second?
I second.
Okay. Second by Andrew Lara. Thank you. Okay, let's move on to item number 13. That is the approval and procurement of the automated license plate reader cameras. I believe we have a presentation by staff.
Yes, Mayor, City Council, we do have a presentation. This is for automatic license plate readers. I'll turn it over to Angelina to make the introduction.
Good evening, Ms. Mayor, members of the City Council. The item before you tonight seeks your approval for the purchase of 36 automatic license plate readers, a critical element of ensuring the ongoing efforts towards crime reduction in our community. This recommendation comes after an in-depth look at the system by our Sheriff's Department, our Public Safety Ad Hoc Committee, and city staff. So we have a representative here from Flock Safety, Jesse Mund, the creators of the cameras, available with a brief presentation.
Good evening and congratulations, Madam Mayor, Dr. Mayor, council members, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you for allowing me to be here today. My name is Jesse Mund. I manage and work with the cities in Southern California in the procurement and utilization of the Flock Safety ALPR cameras. I believe we do have a presentation to put up, a few quick slides that I will discuss to give you a little background on the company, but also the products and how they can assist with helping keep the citizens of Pico Rivera safe. So next slide, please. So first, who is Flock Safety? Talk a little bit about ethical technology and how the public and private sector can come together to create solutions that work for everyone and provide real and effective results for the city, and also do it in a simplified manner using new technology that is not a burden to install and maintain and really makes that a simple process. And then, of course, I'll be available for any questions you may have. Next slide, please. So the mission of Flock Safety is to help eliminate crime, to work with law enforcement, and the goal of our company is to work with our partners in the public and private sector to reduce crime in the United States by 25% in 3 years. So we feel it's possible. It just takes all of us to participate. Next slide, please. In Flock's inception in 2017, there's been a lot of growth and a lot of buzz as to why it's effective. But in essence, it's all about the results. The products work. It's easy to adopt. It's easy to deploy. It's cost effective, another key element of any public solution. And also, it provides near immediate results, which I'll show you a couple of examples later. But, it's been adopted by over 1,400 departments in just over 2.5 years, including over nearly half of the departments in Southern California. Next slide, please. Flock has started and continues to drive the concept that technology can be effective for both the public and the private sector, and our products are available for the public and private sector. In fact, many communities in Southern California have created public safety initiatives for the entire community, meaning that the technology can be procured for the public space by the city or by the county, but also can be procured for private businesses and HOAs who are interested in taking advantage of this as well. When we talk about protecting privacy, what do we mean? I think it's imperative to understand and for the community to understand what the technology does and how it helps law enforcement proactively and reactively, but also what it does not do. So the flock data and the flock system, and I have a real image of what the flock data captures, they detect unbiased objective data. It is the back of a car, nothing else. They're not positioned to look into a car, into a vehicle in any way, shape, or form. There is no information about the driver of the vehicle. There's no facial recognition in the software. There's no capacity or method to do any type of immigration enforcement, no traffic enforcement, and these are still image cameras only. So as a vehicle drives by, an image is taken, and it does recognize if that vehicle has a license plate. It cross-references a state DOJ database to determine if that vehicle has been involved in a crime or is stolen. And if it is, it will notify your local sheriff deputy station here. However, there are some controls there, which part of that is once that data is there, any search that happens in the system is audited and tracked, and that data is always encrypted, meaning the second it hits the Flock ecosystem, that data is encrypted, not only in transit when it's going over the LTE, but it's also encrypted at rest. So this data is constantly encrypted throughout the whole ecosystem. So 3 major components here. The technology is deployed completely infrastructure free. What I mean by that is there's no wiring, there's no Wi-Fi mesh systems. It's really LTE and solar. So we clamp these to existing poles, or we will put a pole in the ground. The solar panel will keep it powered. We will turn on the LTE. We will then enable the sheriff's department to utilize the cameras. So the process is a very light lift from an infrastructure standpoint. This is a safety as a service. What we mean by that is it's a subscription. So what we're bringing before the council today is a 1-year option, basically a pilot program for the citizens and the council members to try the efficacy of the program. And if they find value and get results from the system, we hope they continue, but certainly they're not obligated to do so. And finally, the public-private partnership. We believe that safety is a community effort, and we were just on the news in Melrose Action yesterday or 2 days ago in LA. Many of their constituents came together and procured flock cameras for the LAPD's use. So it's a very effective tool for the community to get behind, and it's a very cost-effective tool as well. Next slide, please. There's an example of how these things are deployed. So you see the solar panel on the small camera, a multitude of variety of poles on traffic signals, light poles, and then the one second to the right is a pole that we put in the ground. So there's many ways that these can be deployed, and the cost is the same either way. So the idea is to just make it easy and as painless as possible. Next slide. Couple of results now that we've been in Southern California a couple of years. Chief Encontro in San Marino went public with some of the results he's seen. A significant reduction in breaking and entering and vehicle breaking and enterings. And he attributes part of that due to having actionable leads to pursue when events do occur. Next slide, please. Next is some results from a press release from the city of Hemet. As you'll notice, within about a 4-month period, they had recovered 132 stolen vehicles, returning over $1.15 million in assets to their constituents. Next slide, please. Although there's a way to do this in a way that we communicate with the community, the positive sides of the technology, there are a lot of good things that can come from this. And we encourage and want to do any type of press release the city is comfortable with. Certainly not under any obligation to do so, but if so, we're happy to support that initiative. So here's a list of some customers that are nearby. Just recently, the city of Whittier and city of Santa Fe Springs approved and are in process of adopting the technology. including over 17 cities in LA County alone, and all of the counties in Southern California. So, with that, I will take any questions you may have.
Thank you. So clarification from our city attorney, motion for approval and a second, and then we'll ask the questions and discuss it? Or do we ask questions now?
You could open it up to questions now.
Okay, let's do that. Any questions?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Mayor.
Captain, how do you feel about it?
Well, I support any efforts to, assist us in, law enforcement to help us better to serve the community. I brought with me our new operations lieutenant at Pico Rivera Station, Lieutenant Joe Hernandez, and he actually has some personal experience with Flock. So if anyone has any questions, he might be able to give you some direction or some feedback based on his personal experiences.
Is it going to do what he says it's going to do?
Yes, sir. It helps tremendously, especially with our detective division, helping solve crimes. And I have been out in the field as a lieutenant where my team has utilized the Flock camera. Crimes not only happening in nearby cities that utilize the Flock system, but ourselves in our own cities that utilize it. We're able to solve crimes based on the cities that have the cameras. We work together as a team and we share information, and it's real-time information. So one real quick story I could tell you, we had a shooting a few hours prior. The vehicle returned to the area, and right away we were able to locate that vehicle. It gives you a really good idea of where that vehicle's at. We were able to solve that crime. We also had another time where a child was almost abducted. The mother got a license plate. It was in a nearby city, but the vehicle came into our city. But because we share the same information on the Flock system, they participate in it. We're able to catch that suspect and then give that suspect back over to the appropriate city.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Do you any more comments? Question? No? Okay, can I get a motion to approve this item? Or any more?
So I make a motion to approve the item.
Okay.
I second it.
Okay, all in favor? You may say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion unanimous. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is city manager's report. Thank you. Thank you for your.
Mayor, City Council, I'm going to hold those reports till next council meeting.
Okay. Next item is new business. Do we have any new business? We'll start with Mayor Pro Tem to the right.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The new business item that I'd like to discuss is the beautification of Pico Rivera. We've all have been in discussion with funding to beautify the medians and to beautify our parks. And I think in order to highlight that and ensure that we meet our goals, I would like to make a motion that we create a beautification ad hoc committee. And of course, as we know, ad hocs are for 6 months, and then you have 1 or 2 items that you discuss, and you shoot for that goal to push it along in those 6 months. And I would imagine that the residents would be very happy that we are looking to create a beautification ad hoc committee. And I'd like to get that started, and if I can get a second on that.
Is there a second?
I'd like to second that.
Okay, second by Councilmember Lara. Okay, thank you. And Councilmember Elias, any new business?
Yes, as I mentioned earlier, I was concerned with the financial situation. Our seniors are suffering not only from the mobile parks, but just around the city. We have an increasing population of seniors. I'm a senior. So, it's something that I would like us to consider, the senior citizens rent increase exemption situation. Because again, it is working very well in New York. They've only had one problem in the years that has been passed there. And again, I think that it's important that we take care of our seniors as we do our veterans, because they're vital to us, and it's a growing population.
I'd like to second that. I'd like to second directing staff, legal counsel, and staff to research that and bring us back more information. Is that correct, Councilmember?
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman. Councilmember Camacho, any new business?
Yeah, I have several, but I'm going to wait until the next meeting for it. But I just want to point one out only because it's time sensitive in the aspect of, as we all know, we've lost an iconic figure in not only this country, other countries in the world, Vicente Fernandez, for most of you that probably know him, in light of the fact that hopefully we close in memory of him. But I wanted to bring back the fact that I led a delegation a few years back to name the Sports Arena Road after Vicente Fernandez, as he had been one of the major performers way back when at the Pico Rivera Sports Arena. This iconic figure has since passed, and I think it's only appropriate that we revisit and look at the viability of naming the Sports Arena Road as the Vicente Fernandez Road, Avenida Vicente Fernandez, or something. In fact, I think it's only right and a tribute to someone who performed at our venue when, at that time, these A-list celebrities were not allowed to perform in the most commercialized venues, and this is an iconic. I think it's only appropriate, but I'd like to get a second for staff to look at the viability of naming that street as such.
I'd like to second that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Lara, oh, wait, we already, no. Councilmember Lara, any old business? I mean, new business, I'm
New
sorry.
business, thank you. As we know, the vaccines for COVID-19 work. We also know that the city of Pico Rivera has, our residents have gone out and they've done a really good job at vaccinating. The city has provided vaccination clinics. The El Rancho Unified School District has provided vaccination clinics. We have a concern about our residents who are homebound, those, whether due to disability or due to some other reason, cannot leave their homes and are unable to be vaccinated. So a few of those residents have started to reach out to us. We have a small list of residents who are homebound. Yesterday, I, along with Parth, the pharmacist from Pico Care Pharmacy, actually, we went out and we vaccinated some of these residents. We initially reached out to LA County and we put them on the list for their homebound program. The county was supposed to call them within 7 days. It's been a month. They haven't followed up. So I felt that it was our responsibility to take care of those in need. So yesterday I vaccinated a 101-year-old Pico Rivera resident for her flu vaccination. I'll be there next week and we'll give her a COVID vaccination. But with that, we want to continue the vaccination clinics in conjunction with Pico Care Pharmacy throughout the month of January. But I just need a consensus. I'm going to ask for two things, and the city manager has advised me to bring this up before council and just give a consensus regarding this. In order to provide staffing for Pico Care Pharmacy to assist our residents, he would need about $15,000 for additional staffing. Now, the city manager just needs a consensus from the city council if we'd like to proceed with that. That's good enough, and then he'll move forward. Is that correct? Thank you.
I agree with that recommendation. I think this pharmacy has done a great job, not only in the city, but in the school districts as well. And I think it's only right that we continue the partnership with him.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's second. I also suggest, what about partnering with the El Rancho Unified District, as we have a great resident veteran as well, nurse with El Rancho Unified.
Yes.
So in addition, looking to getting support from the school district.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep.
Okay, so the second point, and the last one is those we know that the variant COVID Omicron is going to hit the United States, and we're going to see a large number of cases, even amongst those who are vaccinated. But we know that getting a booster vaccination shot severely decreases the risk of death and hospitalization. So Pico Care Pharmacy has a list of about 10,000 residents that he has vaccinated. We have reached out to LA County. We've been part of their teleconferences. The trouble they are having is doing outreach to those who have received their second vaccination and are due for their third, their booster. Because Pico Care Pharmacy has a list, a database of 10,000, we believe that it would be best if we sent them a personalized note card saying that they're eligible. But to do that, we'd have to expend potentially $10,000. And this is another event where we just need consensus from the council. If I could get consensus, and then we can move forward.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move
Is that
on.
okay, Ms.? Okay, thank you, sorry.
Of course. Let's move on to the next item. I don't believe we have any old business to discuss.
Yes, we do.
One item for old business. Councilmember Elias?
The old business is, let's see, the first one is the Veterans Research or Resource Center. We called a meeting to take a look at the facility and see what changes were necessary. And we had quite a number of veterans show up, okay? And the facility is perfect for us. It is better than any of the facilities that currently have resource centers. So we have a lot of potential there. But there were some items there that they noticed, in terms of what is going to be necessary to have a very favorable MOU, with the county. So I just want to make you aware. I think I have made you aware of some of the one of the requirements in there, but I just wanted to have on record here that they've noticed some things that they're going to have to be able to. One of the things is that we're going to have to, according to the library, we're going to have to use the facilities according to the normal procedure for reserving rooms, okay? And that makes it very difficult to schedule appointments and to schedule the counseling sessions and so on. So we're going to be offering you, I'm going to be meeting with a group tomorrow and provide you a document as to the areas that they think that have to be included in the MOU. Okay.
Thank you. So can we, City Manager, have an update, perhaps one of the January meetings on the Veterans Resource Center proposal?
Will do.
Thank you. Let's move on. Old business, one more? Yes.
Just two quick items. One, I just want to recognize the resident Victor Gonzalez that lives on Ann Street. He was recognized yesterday on Fox 11 News regarding the Christmas decorations and stuff. And I just wanted to make sure, he does this with his grandkids and his family. And I just think it's a representation of what we as a community do when it comes down to decorations. Some better than others, but I wanted to recognize him for that. Also, just on the note of the Pride program, as we've listened and seen the presentation, a great program has been around for some time now and run well by the Sheriff Department here in the station. And I know there's just a lot of young youth that I've spoken to when they were in the program, now our mentors, ambassadors, definitely has gone a long way. It's a program that we should continue supporting. So thank you, Captain, for the continuation on that. And then if I may take this opportunity I know you briefly highlighted our Lieutenant Hernandez, who's our operations, who's new to the position, but not new to our city because you grew up here, you worked here. It's great to see you again, and I just want to take this opportunity to formally welcome you as well as the Lieutenant Operations. And Captain, if you want to just say a few words, it'd be great.
Yeah, thank you, Captain.
No, like I said, it's been an honor to be the captain at the station for the last couple of months, and I was very fortunate to be able to get Joe back in here. And as you know, I'm very much for the community and the programs and the youth programs and, all the Parks and Rec programs and everything that happens here in this city is just really exciting. And so it's special for me to be here and actually, having Lieutenant Hernandez here, I've attempted to introduce him to several people, and I don't need to do that because he knows many of the people that I go to introduce him to. So it's, I think we're going to make a great team, and we're settling in, and it's, we're having a good time, and I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to have him here, and I'm happy to continue to serve you guys in this capacity. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Captain, as well. We're glad to have you as part of our leadership, and thank you, Lieutenant. And it's good to have. Correct. You did not, Captain Hutek. You were the lieutenant when you came in as the interim captain. You did not have a lieutenant in place, correct?
That is correct. When I first got here to Pico Rivera, I was the watch commander for about a year, and then I became the operations lieutenant, and I was in that position for 2 years. And then when our previous captain was out for his medical, I took over, and there was no operations lieutenant, so I was doing both jobs. So it's definitely nice to have some help. When he met my son, he said, "I'm here to hopefully so your mom will be around a little bit more," and he was pretty happy to hear that, I think. At least that's what he told me.
Thank you so much. Welcome to our leadership team. And as I said before, I have high expectations for all of us. So thank you and welcome. I think we are moving on now to intergovernmental agency meetings, AB 1234 reports, which I believe my colleagues have some items to report. I'll start with Mayor Pro Tem to my right.
None.
I believe you attended a conference, right?
ICSC.
Well, we all collectively went. Yes, that's correct. Okay. We went to the International Shopping Centers Conference in Las Vegas, Nevada this past weekend. And at these conferences, you have tenants, anchor tenants, grocery stores and other clothing stores that are there, and they're looking to see if they get an opportunity to be in our city or other cities. And our current mayor, Madam Mayor, and our council members, Camacho and myself, as well as Director Michael Garcia and our city manager, we were all there, and we were talking to a couple of grocery stores that have interest in coming into our community. I don't know if I'm allowed to share the information, but we did make contact, and it was a positive thing that occurred there. In other words, what you have is we were proactive in bringing in new retail into our community for our upcoming shopping centers that are being actively constructed at the moment. So it was a positive thing. Yes.
And Mayor Pro Tem, you've done such a good job in making that presentation that I just want to say I ditto what you just said and to report. I think there's some positive things to come here in the city of Pico Rivera as it relates to new tenants.
Yes.
We discussed.
Yes, and I want to remind my colleagues that this agenda item is important. AB 1234, we must by law report if the city is paying for our registration fees, any expenses, and we are attending on behalf of the city, we shall provide a either verbal or written report. So just so that we are on the same page, this is the space, this is the time on the agenda for us to do so. Councilmember?
Yes, I have a meeting to report, and I also have to report
Yes.
that they gave me dinner. Okay.
Lucky you.
That was the pride celebration there. That was held at Pico Park, and you did provide me dinner, and it was fantastic. One of the things that I had assumed that the city had been somewhat supporting, the Pride program, and I was surprised to hear that we're not, and that, the effort, the great effort that it's doing is by them doing some fundraising. So, I would like, I would like us to consider support, some type of support this year for the Pride program and what it does. So,
I think you could introduce that in new business. We already passed that agenda item, so maybe we can continue that to the next meeting, if we may.
So you want to put it in new business?
In the next
Next time?
Mhm,
Okay.
yeah. So, Councilmember Camacho, anything else to report?
I don't have anything else.
Okay, Councilmember Lara.
No, I did not attend the conference.
Thank you, thank you. I do have a few. I did attend the ICSC conference, and as council member, as my colleagues mentioned, we did meet with members of own land, building spaces that are owned here in the city, and we are trying to solicit new businesses to be proactive to fill some of our vacancy spaces. So I'm proud that we're being proactive to make those connections and bring in new businesses. And I will leave that to a future. I'm not going to spill the beans about our future vendors that will be coming to the city, but I just want to let you know there's new exciting things coming for 2022. I did also attend the city tree lighting ceremony, which was wonderful. Thank you to the Parks and Recreation Department. How many attendees did we have estimated?
5 million?
5 million?
Throughout from the time of 4 o'clock, probably about 7,000.
Wonderful, wonderful. And we had a Sonora Dinamita concert. We had snow, 40 tons of snow. We had the tree lighting, and I'm looking forward to many, many more of these in the year to come. So please, everyone, stay healthy, get your booster, wear your masks, use your sanitizer so we can continue to have a lot of these events. I also attended the mini pitch groundbreaking ceremony for our new incoming soccer field sponsored by the Brodon family. And so that will be coming to be continued at Pico Park very soon. I attended a food giveaway, which we did at the Pico Rivera Sports Arena. I don't remember, we didn't have as large a turnout as prior years, but I see that as a good sign that there's not as much need. The lines were not as long. But we did provide food to anyone in need, a box of chicken and carrots and potatoes. I did also attend a toy giveaway at the American Legion on Durfee Avenue, and they provided toys to the local community. The last thing I wanted to mention, I attended with Councilmember Camacho and his daughter and my son. We attended the Thanksgiving dinner with the Pico Rivera Teen Center youth. So I have been very busy, and if anyone is trying to call me, email me, I apologize. My agenda is very full. Don't take it personally. Please call me, text me, and email me 3 times if you need to, and call our secretary, Sandra Castro, our city manager, our city clerk, anyone, if you need to get a hold of me. Please do not take it personally. There is a lot on our plates right now, and I look forward to the new year coming. So I think that is all for our business. I'd like to adjourn the meeting in memory of Roland Stuman Jr., Eduardo Macias, and also Vicente Fernandez, our popular icon. So do I need a motion to adjourn? Nope, okay. Unanimous, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Right.